Just to start off today, as adopted by the town of Smith Falls at the beginning of meetings from now forward, we will be doing a land acknowledgement. So I will start off with that. So on this October 27th, 2021, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. Certainly a very nicely worded acknowledgement. Just before we start our proceedings today, we just to bring forward that the town has, town staff have received a letter of resignation from Kelly Island from the Accessibility Advisory Committee, and certainly thank her very much for her contribution while she was with us. And I do understand, and Nadine, correct me, but I do understand that there's a letter of appreciation coming from the town to Kelly as a follow-up to that.
Yes, you're correct, Chair Bingley.
Awesome. All right, so now we will just move into our
But I think we lost the chair.
I think we did.
And we'll just give her a quick second, see if she comes back on. If not, the vice chair, which is Corey Agnew, will just take over, but a second and see.
Just give her a minute. The website out. I'm just going to pull up an agenda just in case I have to take over.
Okay, when you're ready, Corey, we may just proceed and see when Lucy comes back on.
I'm just waiting for the website to load on my phone.
Oh, there she is.
She is back, yes?
Yeah, she's coming on with. Lucy, can you hear us?
I'll ask for any disclosures of monetary interest in the meantime. Seeing and hearing none. Any amendments to the agenda? Nadine, I know Lucy had one. Do you know what it was?
Yes, if we could add priority issue C, and it's a update from the Racism and Discrimination Task Force.
Okay. And I would like to add item D, vaccine requirements to enter town facilities.
there we go. Just to let you know, I am back.
Okay, I will hand it back over to you. So we did add 2 priority issues,
Okay.
C and D. C is the
Okay.
one that you brought forward, and D is vaccine requirements to enter town facilities.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for that. And did we do disclosures of conflicts of interest yet? Yes. Okay, so that's done. And so now we've got 2 sets of minutes to adopt this afternoon. The minutes from July 15th meeting, as well as the September 9th minutes from that meeting. So could I have Nadine just confirmation that we can adopt both sets as one?
Yes, as long as the members that are moving and seconding it, we're at both meetings, we can do it all in one sweep.
Okay, perfect. And
I move.
so, okay, thank you, Katie, for moving that. And I'll have a seconder, please. Councillor Allen, thank you. So all in favor? Yes. Okay, so that motion is carried. Thank you very much. We've got no delegations this afternoon. We've got no correspondence items this afternoon either. So now we will move into our priority issues, and I will call forward planning coordinator Mary Remming to address the zoning bylaw review issue in town. So Mary.
Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mary Remig. I'm the planning coordinator here with the town of Smith Falls. So I work with the senior planner. Right now, we're in the middle of doing our comprehensive zoning bylaw review. We have a consultant that we're working with, WSP, who is helping us take on this project. It's scheduled for completion in spring of next year. I did prepare a memo for the committee's consideration, just outlining what it is that staff would be looking for from the Accessibility Advisory Committee. So just to recap, a couple of the key factors we're looking for is regarding document accessibility. So just one of the key barriers with zoning bylaws is typically that people with disabilities often find it hard to read. Fairness is that it's often a hard to read document. So we are looking for suggestions on how to make it more user-friendly. So then we're also looking at accessible access for residential and commercial buildings. So currently our bylaw does not contain provisions with respect to setback requirements and or permitted encroachment into required setbacks for accessible ramps. So that is also being considered. We also have accessible housing that we're looking at creating provisions for, whether that should be a requirement depending on the form of development or not. Accessible parking standards. Currently, again, our bylaw is from '94. We don't have accessible parking requirements in our current zoning bylaw, so we will be looking at adding that as well. We're also just looking at the overall document to ensure that there's no accessibility barriers. So just ensuring that none of the other provisions would create a barrier in developing accessible housing form or accessible options for commercial units. So my attendance here today is to see if the committee has any feedback on any of these topics or even on the zoning bylaw in general. Anything that's not discussed today, you're welcome to submit your feedback individually to our project email at zoningreview@smithsfalls.ca. But in the meantime, I very much welcome your feedback on these topics.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mary, for that contribution there. Is there any questions or follow-up? Corey?
Just a suggestion, if the website has the ability to, when you're posting the zoning bylaws, have something that it reads it to you, like audible. That way they're not trying to read through the lines.
Good idea. That's a good idea. Anybody else? Seeing none. Seeing none. Mary, I just had a quick question. question for you. Where on the second page of your memo there, under the heading where it talks about accessible housing, is there a particular number of units in a given building or in a town that are required to be accessible, or?
So currently, no. What we do is, so especially large buildings, they're subject to an application through site plan control, which is a Planning Act application as well. So that's when we zero in on some of these priorities that are established through the official plan. So accessibility is identified as a priority in our official plan document. So we look to ask for that, but there's not a specific percentage of housing that would be required to meet accessibility. That is part of the review. We're hoping to implement provisions that would require a certain portion.
Okay, that sounds great. Just wanted to acknowledge to the redevelopment of the Beckley Street plan, and as being one example of having to accommodate accessible vans, and just to really, if there's any other projects moving forward, just to make sure that that is also addressed in them. I think that's a very important issue, and maybe not something that everybody would think of, but certainly very important to think about. Is there any other, Corey?
Just a follow-up for the housing. If we're gonna make it so that there's accessible housing, it also needs to be affordable. So people on like ODSP that need it need to be able to afford the rent to be in that unit. It can't just be accessible and then charge $3,000 a month because it's not affordable for somebody on disability.
Mhm. Very good point. Is there anybody else? So, Mary, I thank you very much for bringing that email address forward, and I do encourage, if people have a thought later on, that they can share that and bring that forward. I think it's very important to leave that door open, so to speak, that people can continue to give feedback. That's very important. Is there any other questions or comments?
Has anybody looked at accessibility of all the listed barrier standards for parking from other municipalities? Has that been looked at?
Sorry, through the chair, I would say that that is part of the exercise that's taking place currently. Our consultants are doing a comparison with municipalities of similar demographics to our own to see what they are doing and how they're addressing that topic.
Okay.
Anyone else? Anybody? Seeing none. So I'll thank Mary very much for her coming today and for bringing this issue forward and allowing us to have some feedback.
Thank you very much for having me.
No problem.
Have a
Great.
fantastic afternoon.
You too. Okay, so now the next priority issue on our agenda is the Accessible Halloween Initiative, which I actually am going to lead that discussion. A few weeks ago in the paper, I saw an initiative for, it's called Treat Accessibly, and I'll just, provide you with a little bit of background, but I know it's very important sort of initiative to make sure that people of all abilities can participate in trick-or-treating and get the treats from that. And you know, very, very important event for children, and I think children of all abilities should be able to do it. So the initiative started when an Ontario family recognized the need for change in making Halloween accessible. Their inspiration stemmed from a child in a wheelchair that they knew, and they knew that would be an issue for that child. And so just a little bit of stats here. There's currently 40,000 homes across Canada participating in this initiative. It's called Treat Accessibly. What the initiative entails is that you would put a lawn sign on your lawn sharing a message, excuse me, that you are an accessible house to trick or treat at. And to do that, you know, putting a table on the lawn or doing it from your driveway would be a good way to do that. Just bear with me for 1 sec. Okay, there, that's better. So the lawn signs are available at participating RE/MAX offices, and I've spoken with John Gray and Brenda Gray, the broker there at RE/MAX in town, and they have brought some lawn signs to me. And understand some of the members perhaps have had the opportunity to get one. They're at a town hall now, and certainly ready for any member to pick up if you haven't already done so. They are to be I would ask that they be put on the lawn a week prior to Halloween, which has already happened, but if you haven't already, certainly never too late to do that. So that just, you know, to make awareness happen prior to Halloween that this will be an accessible home that kids can go to. And so again, if you want to get a sign, they are available at Town Hall. And if you do want more, I can talk to John Gray and see about getting some more. So is there any questions or feedback there?
It's a great idea, Lucy.
Awesome. Anybody else? Corey, I'm just having trouble seeing if you have your hand up or not. My screen's a little.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay. And acknowledge, you know, that the issue will be small this year. Just given the current situation we're all living under. But hopefully, you know, in the years following, it will expand. further. So we look forward to that.
Yes.
So I think that wraps up the discussion on that. And the next item on our agenda is an update from the Racism and Discrimination Task Force, and I'll turn things over to Nadine to lead that discussion.
Thank you. So this morning, our Racism and Discrimination Task Force met, and they are currently conducting a survey through Speak Up Smith Falls, as well as there are paper copies available at the town hall. And the survey is to help them with their mandate and objectives through the Racism and Discrimination Task Force. So they've asked that I bring it forward to all of you today just to share that. If you're able to do it, you can access it through the Town of Smith Falls website. There's a button on the right-hand side that says Speak Up Smith Falls, and you just click on that and it'll take you to all of the current surveys that the town's holding. This survey is anonymous. Through Speak Up Smith Falls, you do not need to register. If you rather do it through a paper copy, as I noted, there are paper copies here at the town hall. And if that's not easy or accessible for someone to get, if they just let me know, I'll make sure that a copy's delivered to you somehow. And then to keep the paper copy anonymous, you can return it to the black mailbox that's out in front of the town hall. It's there 24/7, so you can drop it off at any point in time, and it's a secure mailbox. So the racism group are quite excited about the survey. It's something that will help them with some of the projects they're working on, and they're hoping that you'll participate, and many of the members of the public will participate as well.
Great, thanks, Nadine. That's seems like a wonderful survey. So encourage people to have some input there. Is there any questions or comments? Anything? No. Jen, I'm just having trouble seeing if you have your hand. No.
No, I was coughing. Sorry.
No, that's fine. No problem. All right, so I think we can wrap up that discussion. Encourage everybody to check that out when you can. Our last priority issue today is vaccine requirement for buildings, and Corey has brought that forward, so I'll turn things over to him and he will lead that discussion.
So today I saw an article and it says, I'm just going to read the first paragraph. Beginning November 1st, persons entering and accessing services provided by Smith Falls Memorial Community Center will now need to show an enhanced vaccine certificate with a QR code as proof of vaccine, as well as ID. So if you don't have the QR code, you can't get into the facilities at all. Now, me personally, I tried 4 times to get the RQ code, and if it wasn't for my mom this morning, I wouldn't have gotten it at all. So I don't think that's very accessible for the town to be mandating you to have a QR code when this piece of paper shows that you are double vaccinated with your ID as well. I don't understand why they're doing it. So I just thought I would bring it up as an accessible point, that's not making it 100% accessible.
All right. Councillor Ellen, I see you have your hand up.
I'm still using that, Corey. My husband has a QR code because he's techie, a tech whiz, and he went on and got it, and I haven't got there yet. My understanding is you can, as long as you have one or the other. That's my understanding at this point. And I think what they're saying is it has to have that code on it, but printed one that you just had in your hand has the same thing. Yeah.
I understood the same thing, Councillor Allen. I was actually at the rink a couple of nights ago to watch my nephew play hockey, and for vaccine requirement, I just showed it on, I took a picture of my paper copy and just put it on my phone. So I just showed my phone and that got me in fine. Jen.
I think what Corey is saying is that according to the newspaper article, the old receipt that you got isn't going to be valid anymore. And I think that from an accessibility standpoint, it would be really good if we could clarify that point as to whether or not you have to have that QR code. I know in my instance, I logged in, I went through all the, the filling in the form, and then it said, oops, something went wrong. Try again after midnight, and I haven't been able to get in yet.
I had the same thing, Jen, twice.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating. So I still have my paper copy that they gave me when I got my second dose. So I think it would be really good if we could clarify exactly what we need to get in. And hopefully they could sort of push off the QR code for a little while until all the kinks are ironed out of it.
Yeah.
Where do we go first, Corey? How do you start it?
So if you go to the Ontario the Minister of Health website, if you put in your health card and it's supposed to come up with your QR code, I struggled doing it, so my mom did it for me, so I'm not exactly sure, not gonna lie.
What's your mother's number? Just kidding. Okay, that's a beginning. Thank you.
I do encourage people, and I think the ministry is great at providing that information. So I would encourage people to check out the legal requirements as directed by the ministry for that. Certainly is quite an issue right now. But is there any other feedback, Nadine?
Just a note, if the committee wants to send forward a recommendation, I would suggest you pass a motion. There was a communication sent out yesterday, and staff would certainly want to seek clarification from Director Manhire, but it does state that the provincial government, further effective November 1st, 2021, Town of Smith Falls will require patrons of the community center to provide proof of vaccination through a QR code. And I think that's perhaps what Corey's speaking to. So perhaps we need to seek clarification on that. And if this committee isn't supportive of that, all of your decisions as a group need to come in the form of a motion. So if that's something that just procedurally, I just need to let you know that.
Okay, thank you very much. Perhaps, Corey, that motion would be possibly a good thing for you to look at, and then we can have further discussion as a group. If you'd like to do that. Another good website to check out is ontario.ca-proof, and that will give you some good information too, and you can certainly get your information there. And the only piece of information you need to do that would be your health card number. So just make sure you have that on hand when you visit that website, and you should be good to go. Okay. Is there any other questions or comments on there?
Corey has his hand up.
Okay, Corey?
I will make a motion and somebody can second it, hopefully. Recommend it that the accessibility committee gets clarification regarding vaccine requirements to enter town facilities.
Absolutely. So can I have someone second that motion, please? Jen, thank you very much. So we will, Nadine, I'll just ask what would be the appropriate next steps now that that motion has been created?
Certainly, I will share the discussion with Director Manhire, who's the Director of Community Services, and seek clarification in writing, and then I'll serve it back to the group for your correspondence.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think that wraps up all of our priority issues today. We've had a great discussion on everything. So now we will just simply move into our plans for the next meeting. So Nadine, is there a certain time frame that you're looking for, or?
I was
need
wondering,
information?
just staff need to seek clarification with respect to budget requirements. Council is going to be reviewing the first draft of the budget in November. So if there's any budgetary requirements for 2022, we should bring those forward. So I'm just wondering if maybe in a couple of weeks we can meet. It will give the members time to think about if there's anything that you need funds for in 2022. And it's even little things like recently I had a member want to attend a workshop. And so those funds are allocated through our budget. So just little things like that. And you also have your work plan. So we'll recirculate that to everybody and you can look at that. If there's anything in there that needs to be executed in 2022, we could just forecast for that.
Okay. Okay, and I did want to also talk about just a bit of follow-up on the accessible ramps that we had been talking about previously as well. If everybody is okay with that. So perhaps I could make it on an agenda next meeting or in the near future. All right, so would we, Councillor Allen?
You're muted.
You're on mute,
Yeah,
Councillor.
sorry, we were talking about the ramps, I don't know if you noticed it or not, but we've done quite a lot of landscaping at Victoria Park. From the roadway, the fence was put up, and so it's hoping that it's going to, people are going to realize this is a family place now. Come and ride your bike, maybe have a picnic, whatever. But I'm just wondering, I walked along there and I don't know what it is that they put on the what so-called pathway, but from an accessibility point of view, I'm not sure if it would be something that a wheelchair could go on or not. And we're working on our parks. Right now, we're going to be working at Highland Park and looking at all of our parks, I hope eventually, but we've put money towards fixing parks and making them accessible as part of that, I think. I mean, we have lots of children that have accessibility needs. So I just wondered if this group could maybe think about that, or maybe we could do some research on those kinds of pathways. What's the best type? Because I know that another group talked about putting large gravel, I think, Chris, is that something like gravel, putting gravel on some of the pathways? And I'm not sure that a motorized vehicle or a wheelchair would be able to go on. Would they, Corey? No. So
Not
I think that
properly.
might be nice to give, that we could give
Not
some
easily.
advice on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe for next meeting, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Councillor McGuire, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, just on that note, we I know Parks Canada is really pushing for gravel trails, but I know that's come up at our group that it's not ideal for people. So maybe that's an aspect of that we want to look into too. But the whole park, I don't know, from a budget perspective, there's so many projects we could try to advocate for next year, but I don't know what with the work plan and that kind of stuff, what we want to put in for. So maybe if we can do some thinking on that and see if there's any ideas.
For sure. For sure. Anybody else? Any other questions or comments there? Okay, so would we perhaps look at the second week in November? Would that be a good time frame?
Corey's hands up again.
Oh, Corey.
So before we do that one, Nadine, roughly how much was it for the member to go to the meeting that they wanted to attend? Do you know roughly?
I just have to look up. I think it's usually a couple hundred. They're a little bit cheaper sometimes now with the being held virtually. Depends on the workshop or the actually the one that I was speaking of is the one that Councillor Allen had attended, the Accessible Heritage Workshop. So things like that, it just depends. There's always variations of the cost, but I'd say a couple hundred usually a person.
Okay. And then regarding meeting date, the 10th does not work for me of November.
Okay, we'll make note of that.
Aren't we the first Monday, or sorry, the first Wednesday of the month? Isn't that our meeting date? Normally?
Actually, this committee only has to meet a couple, I think your terms of reference denotes only like 4 times a year, but we've been meeting more often. So it's certainly up to all of you when you want to meet. I think you're right, Councillor Allen. Ironically, I think we've just been meeting on that week, but it's whenever everyone's available.
Councillor McGuire.
Thanks, Chair Bingley. Just looking at the calendar, I think some of us have other committee meetings on the 10th and the 17th on the Wednesdays. So just to try to break up the meeting routine, it might be good to avoid those days if possible. But if we need to make it work, I think I can make it work.
All right, Nadine.
I agree. Certainly with the live streaming, we can only live stream one committee at a time, and that was some of the trouble we had today. So just wondering, certainly we can do another day. I don't know if a Tuesday works for everyone. Typically Thursday is a council agenda day here, so it's always a bit crazier, but I'll do whatever works for the committee. I'm just throwing out a Tuesday to see if anyone was available.
For me.
Tuesday is fine.
Tuesday would work for me if it was before 2. It would have to be morning though, preferably. I film council meetings on Mondays and Tuesdays, and council meets in Perth at 5:30. So I would need to be done before that.
I'm not available on Tuesday mornings.
Okay. So we.
Is the 3rd busy for you guys for committees meeting?
Just looking, I don't see any here.
Is there a reason that we avoid Mondays and Fridays?
Mondays is because of council, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So
Sorry.
I could confirm with the lady that sets up our live streaming, but I believe the 3rd there isn't anything because everybody met today. And I'm just looking like a Friday, Jen, that's not too bad either. If we did, we can do whatever works, certainly when we can get majority of the committee members to attend. So we'll work around everything.
Sounds good. Do we want to try the Friday of that week then? Would that push it a little longer for everyone, or?
Friday.
Oh, Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Friday the 12th or Friday the 5th?
November?
Yep.
Oh, Friday. Sorry, I'm on the wrong day.
On Saturday. Let's not go Saturdays.
No.
No.
Yeah, the 12th.
Is the 12th at 1 o'clock work for everybody? Just looking in the calendar, it seems to be open.
Fine.
Seems to work. Does that work for everyone?
Yeah.
Counselors, Dan?
Yep.
Dan? You're on mute, Dan. There we
Sure,
go.
that works.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. So we go with the 12th then.
Hey,
All right. So we will pencil that in, and that'll be our next meeting date. So just confirming 1 o'clock is good. Is that what we settled on?
Yep.
On? Yeah. Okay. All right, so I think that wraps up our meeting today. So I will ask for a motion to adjourn, please. Anybody? Someone leave?
I'll move to adjourn this meeting.
Excellent. Thank you, Corey. And could I have someone second him, please?
Jen seconded it.
Jen, thank you very much. And that all in favor then? Okay, motion is carried.